welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson. Always a joy to have our good friend Nisha Jackson in the studio with us today. She heads up Ventana Wellness, and we're going to be talking about fatigue.
I know. I was getting tired just thinking about it this morning.
Well, I tell you what, I'm a sufferer. And I don't know if it's just my schedule or stress or a little of everything, you know.
Yeah.
But you're treating this as serious stuff.
Yes.
Why?
And, you know, over the years, it's been interesting to watch the patients come in, because I've learned along with them what are all the causes of fatigue, because there's 150 medical conditions that cause fatigue. So sometimes, you know, when people come in and they say, I have this terrible exhaustion or fatigue or just feeling worn out physically or mentally or even emotionally. And I mean, it can be anything from a vitamin deficiency to insomnia to mono. It could be an infectious problem. It could be a hormone problem, a thyroid problem. I mean, there's so many issues that can cause fatigue that sometimes it's a little bit of a puzzle to put things together. But I have found, literally, Perry, starting with the basics and trying to make sure somebody is doing all the things that they can do to improve energy, which we're going to talk about today. Yeah. Many times it just goes away. So I think that's the key, is making sure that all the basics are covered before you start going and looking for very strange disorders like autoimmune disorders, or things that maybe aren't necessarily the case. And even if they are, doing the basics will help you.
Well, let me say to our viewers and listeners, you're welcome to call in. The phone number is 541-776-5368, as we're going to talk about fatigue. And is it somewhat cultural? People just burned out?
Well, you know, when I was thinking about this show today, I was thinking, I was just in Europe, and I was thinking, you know, I don't remember meeting anybody over there or seeing anyone over there that says, I'm so exhausted, I'm so tired. So I think, I'm sure that they are, but I think it might be a cultural thing. I mean, we're in such a hurry. We're packing in more and more into our day, and our brain is always turned on. If you think about like what causes fatigue, and I think so many times what it is, it's mental fatigue. We're probably not physically fatigued, because most people aren't out, you know, shoveling sand all day long, right? It's probably more mental fatigue, which can kind of spill over into emotional fatigue. But when you have your brain turned on all the time, you're constantly having input coming into your brain. I've got to do this, I've got to be here, I've got to make sure I handle this. And then there's all the complications of your day and the stresses of your day. So I think being turned on mentally all of the time is exhausting. So that is one of the keys, I think, is to turn yourself off. And then, have you ever noticed that when you're kind of mentally exhausted, you end up doing things that aren't necessarily good for you, like eating comfort foods?
Is there a problem?
Or taking a nap later in the day that makes you not sleep well at night.
I had a total zone weekend. I actually slept in one day till 10 o'clock.
Wow.
I think
you need to do that.
You crash once in a while.
Yes, you do. You should use those days for recovery.
Yeah.
But there is a technique to taking a nap, and that is making sure that you take it.
I took a nap that same day.
Oh, you did? After you slept till 10?
Yeah.
You were really recovering.
Well, so you think most of this is emotional, mental?
I think that that's a good place to start. And I know when my patients come in, I have to go through some of the basics of, let's make sure there are no nutrient or vitamin deficiencies. So cleaning up the diet. We talk a lot about getting the diet really colorful, making sure that the sugar and flour is out of your diet, and alcohol, which is very fatigue causing. So we want to make sure that those things are cleaned up as much as possible, and that they're sleeping. Sometimes we actually have to help them sleep, because that's fundamental to energy, right? You have to be sleeping. And if you're under stress, we need to get patients sleeping about 9 to 10 hours at night, believe it or not, which is not what people want.
No.
People are doing, they're not doing that.
Right. So
starting with those basics, I think, is important, and fixing those vitamin deficiencies. We've talked about vitamin D, vitamin C, vitamin D, C, and A are really important for energy. So fixing those deficiencies is really where we start.
All right. Well, if you have any questions, you're welcome to join us, 541-776-5368. And is there a difference between, say, fatigue and just drowsiness?
Yes. So fatigue is something that has a tendency to affect your daily functioning. So just feeling drowsy and kind of temporarily tired might be fixed by drinking a large glass of water. It could be fixed from treating your low blood sugar if you have not eaten for more than 4 hours, or just taking a little bit of a break. So that will probably go away. But fatigue is really it's a diagnosable problem. So it is something that doesn't necessarily go away even when you drink a large glass of water. But I will say that is one thing that really does help afternoon fatigue is drinking a large glass of water.
Okay. You know, the irony of all irony, you made the point earlier, a lot of people fatigue or tired because they physically work hard.
Right.
But most of us now are stressed to the max.
Right.
So it's not a physical workout. And yet physical workout is one of the great things you can do to overcome fatigue. I feel much better after I work out, but boy, do I have to talk myself into it.
Yes.
You know?
Well, have you noticed too that some people just get so tired because they're really not productive? You know, what I mean by that is that you have all these things on your to-do list and it's exhausting just looking at your to-do list of what you need to try to accomplish in a day. And then when you don't get it done, it feels so defeating that you can't see an end to anything. So mentally it's kind of exhausting. I would really rather people go out and be physically exhausted than mentally exhausted.
Yeah.
Because that imbalance between the brain and the body is terrible.
How do you test this? How do you know? How do you start diagnosing this?
Well, I do think it's important that if you have a type of exhaustion that you would say is really dramatically affecting your daily activities, that you should talk to your medical provider about that. That's really where you need to start, because sometimes there's something else going on that really should be diagnosed. Now, if this has been going on for years and you think that it's gradually getting worse, besides talking to your medical provider, I would recommend doing some of the basics that we're going to talk about today. And one of those things is looking at what's going on at the gut. And we talk about food and we talk about cleaning up the diet. We talk about all those things, but one of the things that I have found in my practice to be very effective is actually what I call cleaning up the gut and getting some of the excessive overgrowth of yeast in the gut, which sounds sort of disgusting, but that's what it's called. It's called candida, or an overgrowth of yeast in the gut. Getting that cleaned up, because then the most wonderful thing happens, and that is the person starts absorbing all of the vitamins and nutrients and minerals from their diet or supplements that they're taking really well, so that helps their energy. So many people have too much overgrowth of yeast in their gut, whether they have a diet that's high in sugar or flour, or maybe they've used antibiotics repeatedly. This is very common for people that have chronic infections, children that have used repeated antibiotics over a course of a year. What that does is it kills everything in the gut except the yeast. And so then the yeast has this wonderful opportunity to overgrow, and that reduces your body's ability to have the right bacteria in the gut, the healthy bacteria, to absorb these nutrients and vitamins that we're taking in.
How do you know if you got candida?
So there's a couple different ways that you can test for candida. First of all, many medical providers actually don't acknowledge that this is a real syndrome. The candida, or the overgrowth of yeast in the gut, is known to only occur, some medical providers feel that it's only known to occur in people who are very immune compromised. So maybe somebody that is their immune system is so compromised that they're in their last months of life. And then the yeast can overgrow in many areas of the body, including the gut. But now we know that there can be a low-lying yeast overgrowth in the gut. It can be tested through the blood. There's a blood test that can be drawn for somebody. It's an immune test to look for candida. We can also test it through the stool. We can test it through the urine, or we can actually give them a written test to look at kind of their history as far as their eating and antibiotic use and symptoms to see if they have candida. So sometimes we use a combination of those tests to identify they have it. But sometimes just listen to somebody's history when they come in, I can tell right away. Or looking at their skin, I can tell too. Your skin looks good. I don't think you have candida. Okay,
let me take a quick call here, and you're welcome to join us. Hi, Jackie. You want to know about naps? My answer is take as many as you can.
Thanks for taking my call, hon. My husband has severe neuropathy in his legs and feet, and he has tremendous trouble sleeping at night. He's up basically every hour, every couple hours, all night long. But he does take naps throughout the day, maybe a short one in the morning. He goes to the gym and works out, plays racquetball, really exerts himself, but then he has to come home in the afternoon and take a 2 to 3 hour nap. I think that's kind of affecting that sleep pattern at night, but he's not quite believing that. So I wanted to ask you, Nancy, what is your belief about, or Nisha, excuse me, about the naps and the sleeping?
Yes. Well, I'm glad you called in, because that's actually been studied extensively. And we know that if you take a nap past 2 p.m. and it's longer than 10 minutes, it will definitely affect your sleep pattern at night. Now, there are some people that need to nap regularly because they have a physical illness that doesn't allow them to exert much energy. But if he could nap prior to 2 p.m. during the day, it would be better for his sleep patterns at night. And not just getting to sleep, because he might say, oh, I can sleep fine, I can get to sleep. But it's really the quality of sleep, the depthness of sleep. So I would recommend that he take his naps before 2 p.m. And if he takes it after 2 p.m., that he limits it to 10 minutes, which sometimes is difficult once you lay down and kind of conk out.
10 minutes.
Okay, well, he heard you, so now we're going to make him try it.
10 minutes? That's like taking one bite of a candy bar.
Hey, I also want to say good job for having the problem of neuropathy, which is exhausting, by the way, to have pain. Good job for having neuropathy and still playing racquetball. That's impressive.
That's good.
Yes, and he tries. It's a physical, mental, you got to just go do it, and he religiously does it.
I love that.
And it improves it so much.
That's great.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thanks
for calling.
Have a wonderful day. God bless you.
Okay, you too. Let me take a quick break. We'll be back. Nisha Jackson's with us. We're talking about fatigue, and one of the questions I want to ask when we come back, if it's not treated, is it dangerous?
Yes.
Okay.
Good question.
All right, we'll take your phone calls too. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
Okay, we're back with Nisha Jackson, and Nisha heads up Ventana Wellness, and you go to ventanawellness.com, and it's an incredible resource, and if you're looking for any kind of medical advice, I think you ought to check their website out. It's great. Today we're talking about something I think we all suffer from one time or another, and that's fatigue, whether it's physical or mental. I think we all suffer from. There's been times where I got home and I feel like I didn't even want to think.
Well, that's good. You probably shouldn't be thinking.
Well, I thought, I was so tired, I just sat in the chair, and just looking out the window was fine. Mm-hmm. And it was a stressful day, had a lot going on,
right.
in the middle of a lot of things, and I know that it was clearly emotional. But how dangerous is that?
I think that it's hard to say how dangerous mental fatigue is. But you just have to know that mental fatigue spills over into physical problems. It goes back to whatever is happening in the mind of man is reflected in the disease of the body.
Yeah.
It's really true. And so I think that's where you have to take it, is you have to say, if my brain is plugged in and turned on and overstimulated all of the time from the minute you get up until you lay your head down to go to sleep at night, if your brain is turned on all day, our brain's not designed to do that. So if it is, you are going to have physical problems. You're going to have fatigue, you're going to have pain, your immune system's going to be compromised. So there's a number of things that can happen, and I really believe that's really what leads into autoimmune disorders, which is a whole nother topic. It's kind of when your body starts attacking itself, and you can develop problems with arthritis and fibromyalgia, thyroid disease. So it's kind of key to get yourself unplugged. And there has to be a way that we can, and I suffer from this too, because I kind of like to be plugged in. You know, I like to be almost overstimulated most of the time. I'm wired that way.
Yeah, I know Rick told me that.
I love a lot of projects. I love, you know, keeping a lot of balls in the air.
I've seen your cultural test. I know where you are.
Yeah, I'm afraid of that. And so, you know, I fight that a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that there are many people like me and you that enjoy being plugged in. But we get so much more if we can unplug for an hour or two a day. And there's got to be a way that we can literally just schedule it so that we can just turn it off.
All right, back to Candida. If that is a contributing factor to fatigue, how do you get cleaned out?
So the first thing that we do is there's a number of tests, as I told you. We might order some of those tests, or many times I'll give patients a written test in the office to identify if they have it, and then look at their actual score. For women, if they score over 140, they're positive. If men score over 180, they're positive. So I'll give them that test if we don't want to go along the lines of the stool or urine testing. And if they're positive, I give them a prescription, sort of an antifungal prescription. And not everybody needs to take the prescription, but if you score high enough, you probably should. And that's a prescription that's taken over a 2-week period of time, not every day. Mm-hmm. And then they go on a very strict diet to help clean up the yeast. So we take out the sugar, the flour, and all fermented foods. So that combination of the prescription and that specific cleanse for 2 weeks is unbelievable in helping people regain their energy. It also is unbelievable in helping clear up the skin, whether it be psoriasis, skin problems, skin itching, hives. If they're suffering from an autoimmune disorder, it helps boost their immune system so that they're more resilient to that. Again, they start absorbing the nutrients from their food much better. Mm-hmm. I don't like to use the probiotics the probiotics is the good bacteria putting back in the gut and in a supplement form. I don't use the probiotics while I'm treating the Candida. I'll use them in high doses afterwards. And just that combination, I've had patients come in with really terrible boils on their skin, unusual hives that nobody can figure out, chronic fatigue, inability to lose weight, bloating, irritable bowel syndrome, fatigue, attention deficit issues. And just cleaning up the gut is so amazing what it can do to somebody's health. And so I like to start there, along with looking at hormone levels and making sure that there isn't anemia or some other kind of infectious disease that might be going on that causes fatigue. But just doing that general check initially usually unveils something that's going on. Why is
This whole subject of flour so on somebody's radar screens now? I mean, it seems just recently this whole flour issue and has become quite the thing, you know.
Well, I think that, I think the gluten, that's the big buzzword today, is gluten. But really, my opinion is we've developed a gluten sensitivity because we've basically spent 30 years, 20 years, 25 years, well, probably 30 years, ODing on flour products. Especially since the low-fat craze has come, it's kind of come and gone. We basically turned to flour. We had a food pyramid that said 6 to 11 bread servings a day. So for many, many years now, we've just completely overdosed on flour products. Flour is in everything, and it's good, and it's comforting, and it's we just eat too much of it. And so what people don't often understand is that you can develop a sensitivity or an allergy to anything you OD on. So many times when we do food sensitivity tests on patients to find out, well, maybe they're allergic to something, and that's the reason why they have fatigue. Well, it might just be that they've been eating that particular food group way too much, or food item too much. And flour is one of them. Our body isn't meant to have that much flour. I think that, or any flour at all. It's almost like just kind of blowing up the body, kind of like yeast rising in the gut. It's really bad for the gut.
Sometimes fatigue is also associated with a lot of pain, joint pains and things like that, and I would assume that that's Candida related.
Yes, I think cleaning up the gut, not only so that you can absorb your nutrients better, but that particular diet, especially it's more strict in the beginning, and then you can add some things back into the diet as you go on. That particular diet is the most wonderful energy diet because you're extracting all the foods that cause fatigue. So, and it's very clean, it's very wholesome, and it's very clean. It's probably the way we were meant to eat, which is all whole foods. So people feel better just doing the diet, but they feel even better if we can treat the yeast and get them back to a very good pattern from a gut standpoint.
Is it possible to come off of sugar? Everything, it's in everything.
It's difficult. And again, this is something I struggle. I'm a huge sugar addict. I come from a long line of sugar addicts.
She's got chocolate in her purse, folks. I see it down there.
Chocolate's okay. So it's hard. You know, I just say it's kind of like religion. You have to get up every day and rededicate yourself to, okay, today I'm going to work really hard at eating foods that are healthy for me, that will help me feel better and less painful. Because the inflammatory process of sugar and flour is directly related to pain. So if you have a problem in your body, whether it be a sprained ankle or a bad back or anything in between that, and you're eating a lot of sugar and flour in your diet or processed foods that are not man-made, you're going to have more pain, period. So if you want less inflammation in your body, not only cleaning up the gut and maybe treating the candida, but also getting off those foods really does make a difference. And if you have a day where you've gone crazy or you've been on vacation and you're eating a lot of those foods, that happens and it's going to happen. But just start back the next day and get back on it.
Is the dangers of chronic fatigue, can it lead to heart issues?
Yes, chronic fatigue, I think if it's undiagnosed, I believe that chronic fatigue and things like fibromyalgia and some other autoimmune disorders, in my opinion, is a diet, lifestyle, and hormone imbalance. So I love to go in and treat all of those things and then see what I get. Because most of the time, chronic fatigue goes away, fibromyalgia goes away, autoimmune disorders start to be, more under control. And so that's where I like to start, because if you don't do that, what are you going to do? There's really no treatment for these disorders. So, there's medications, but typically they have side effects, and how long are you going to use them? So you have to do some of these underlying investigations and treatment in order to get better. But that's what we should be doing anyway. So,
well, it's a big issue. Let me just say to our viewers and listeners, if you want more information, you can go to ventanawellness.com and check it out. They got a lot of things going on there and help you with all of this. But overall energy level, I think people are just way overstressed. I think these gadgets keep us on edge.
Yes,
and
I think so too.
We need to take some, I call them media fasts. Why not?
Right.
Turn it off.
Yes.
I love
and
walking.
Get outside.
Yeah,
get outside.
I walk and I just don't take anything with me. I don't have any, I'm not plugged in. You go to the gym and everybody's plugged in. I'm wondering what are they doing?
I know.
I wonder what they're listening to.
I agree.
All right. Let me see if we can squeeze in one more call before we run out of time. Hi, Carrie, you're on the air with Nisha. What's your question?
Yeah, I'm in construction and I work, all day, use my hands, tools. I wake up and my fingers are like cramped, really painful, but I work them pretty soon, they're back to normal. Got any ideas what would cause that?
Well, certainly overuse is probably the most common cause of that. Staying hydrated, again, the same diet recommendations that I just talked about are really important. Making sure that your blood sugar stays stable. And I would get on some herbs for inflammation. I mean, there's wonderful herbs and ointments out there. We even have excellent pain creams that can be compounded at a compounding pharmacy that are higher dose in magnesium. You could have a magnesium deficiency. Vitamin D deficiency, we haven't talked too much about that today, but vitamin D deficiency can cause pain and reduced strength in your hands and lower extremities. So there's other things that you can do to look at that. MSM, you can get that in a cream form. Arnica is an excellent ointment that you can rub on your hands that reduces inflammation and promotes natural healing. So there's some different things that you can do that would help that, but I would make sure that all the basics are covered and that you're not overusing your hands, which I'm sure you are with that type of work.
All right, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, well, Nisha, thank you. It's a big topic, and the first thing they should do, if they really feel like they're really overly tired, I mean, to the point where now the alarms are going off, they should go see you or a physician, huh?
Yes, I would recommend getting some basic testing, especially if maybe, this happens a lot that they've already been to a medical provider and they've said, there really isn't anything wrong, we've looked at everything. If that's the case, you're a great candidate for doing this type of investigation and treatment. But also there's things you can do on your own, correcting vitamin D deficiencies, vitamin C, B vitamins, multi-B vitamins is very helpful, cleaning up your diet, ensuring that you're sleeping every night, and unplugging your brain. Starting with that is key. Turn it off.
And don't eat late.
Yes, don't eat late, exactly.
All right, thank you. Again, VentanaWellness.com, check it out. Thanks, Nisha.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Daniel and I work at theDove TV. Compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market, but at theDove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
All right, we're back, and what a delight and an honor to have back with us today Walid Shoebat. He has been with us before, and it's always an honor to have him. He has authored several books. Maybe you've read some. If not, you need to read them all. For God or For Tyranny, God's War on Terror, and Why We Want to Kill You, and Why I Left Jihad. And today we want to talk to him about something else that kind of adds to the twist of things of what's going on in this country. Walid, nice to have you, my friend. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hey, quickly, before we get into the Obamacare website, what's your take on what's happening in Iraq? Can anything be done there?
It is very difficult. I mean, the only choice the U.S. has, which is the Iranians are trying to do, and they're saying, look, you want us to do something here, and wanting the U.S. to recognize Iran as another agency of combating terrorism in this case, and the Iranians are flamboyantly saying we need to combat terrorism, trying to appear very modern in this case. And, the U.S. joining hands with Iran is just the last resort, and that's not going to work out. And this is going to basically boost Iran into the sphere. And so, you have the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, parked in Baghdad. It looks like Iraq is fragmented already. It's fragmenting by the seam, from the seams. And it's just basically going to be Shia, Sunni district, and the Mosul district. And the issue of Kurdistan becomes a major issue for the Turks, which the Turks will be involved. So, it's basically aiding the Iranian axis is what the U.S. did by starting the problem in Syria. Now it's basically transported into Iraq. And this is what happens when you aid the Islamist movement in Syria. You have the Free Syrian Army now out of the picture, and now you have al-Nusra joining, as well as the Naqshbandi Sufis joining with the ISIS. Now, that's another whole scenario. The Sufis are joining with the revolution against the government in Iraq. That is a major issue because Turks are Sufis, and many Westerners think that Sufi Muslims are the peaceful kind. This is proven to be false. And so the quagmire is simply going to increase, and there is not much the U.S. can do.
Well, it's just amazing. We're watching this thing, and of course, as you know, our Secretary of State's over there trying to negotiate a deal, and it's almost seemingly a waste of time. I don't know if the average American understands the problem and why this is such a security threat, but now it just seems to be out of control.
Absolutely. We're indirectly aiding and abetting al-Qaeda-like operation when it comes to Syria. And that's what started the quagmire. Our aiding and abetting the Free Syrian Army, which is a terrorist group. We've been showing this for the last 2 years. We're aiding terrorism. And that's going to create a much bigger picture when it comes to Daesh or the ISIS, because they're now magnetizing the Sufi Naqshbandis, they're magnetizing al-Nusra, they're showing victory. And when you show victory in these kind of revolutions, it really goes in high gear, in which it will build the confidence of the fundamentalist Muslim movement. And that's what's happening. And of course, it brings Iran into the quagmire, which is something that we shouldn't be doing at this point.
Wow. All right. Well, maybe some of the reasons are tied into the next topic that you want to bring to the table, and that is there seemingly is a connection here in so many ways that our current administration seems to be pro-Muslim, i.e. pro-Islamic terrorism. I mean, I don't know how you can extract anything else but that. But what is the connection now between the company, the CGI, the company that was hired to build the Obamacare website, and some of the things happening in Benghazi? What's the connection from your research?
Well, you know, CGI acquired a company called Stanley Associates, which provides services to the U.S. federal civilian defense and intelligence agency. So Stanley is part and parcel of CGI. And now when you look at when that movie, Innocence of Muslims, or a clip at 1 minute and 32 seconds was, began to be launched, it was launched by a group called News Politics Now, which is a subsidiary of Stanley Associates. Again, it goes back to the federal government. So NPN produced the clip, and then on September 11th, 2012, it uploaded a short version of the video, and in which basically it got, I don't know, a few million hits, and then all of a sudden NPN vanished into oblivion. But we do know that NPN has been created by Stanley and Associates, and in September the 20th, it basically vanished and did its thing. And so we can see that it's part of Ajit Group. Ajit Group is basically part of the things that Obama learned from his communist mentors, and that is to create agitation. And so we should take Obama at his word. Yeah, the movie was the reason, and we should focus on the movie and see who created the movie. Sure, if you want to make the claim that the movie is the reason for these troubles, and it's nothing to do with Benghazi and so on and so forth, we can go that route too. And with this kind of evidence, I think it will bring tremendous problems for the Obama administration. Of course, that also coincides, this kind of activities coincides when Hillary Clinton was involved in the Istanbul process. The Istanbul process is about creating, cooperating with the OIC, Organization of Islamic Council, and in that meetings, Hillary gave a speech, and she said that we will use some old-fashioned techniques of peer pressure and shaming so that people don't feel that they have the support to do what we abhor, and that is basically criticizing Islam. And the president himself came out and says there's no place here for anybody who criticizes the Prophet of Islam. And so they made these statements before, that's the goal. The goal is really the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. And that's what these Ajit groups do. And that was part of the subsidiary of the federal government. You had 4.5 million views on this video before it went viral. I mean, who would watch these crazy YouTube videos from a guy who was unknown, virtually unknown, Naqula Basil Naqula? It had to have been gaining momentum, being aided from above. And of course, I know that my cousin was involved with the movie maker. My first cousin, Iyad Salama, he was involved with the movie maker, and the feds were involved in releasing Naqula Basil Naqula in exchange for him to cooperate in catching one of his operatives, and in which that operative was captured in Canada, and the feds didn't even take him in, even though the Canadians begged the American to, here's your man, and said no thanks, but no thanks, and he was finally delivered back to Palestine, courtesy of the Canadian government. And so, we know that he was a federal agent when he cooperated with the feds. We have the court documents to prove that the feds came in and asked for leniency from Judge Snyder, in which it was approved. And in fact, the feds showed up with a very important full bird, I forgot his name, and replaced who was in charge of the case, and sent somebody who is very up there from the government to take care of Naqula Basil Naqula. All these things about him going to jail, all that stuff, is a front, of course.
Wow. That is, this is incredible. I mean, this is quite an indictment that the administration had connections with the actual video that they blamed everything on and then turned around and ignored it. I mean, this is unbelievable. Do you think this is going to get legs in the press?
Well, it's difficult. It's got to take the last straw that breaks the camel's back. We've seen the case of Bergdahl. Here's the president releasing top 5 full bird terrorists from the Taliban, akin equal to Sheikh Khalid Mohammed. And so we've seen Obama smiling at the Rose Garden when Bergdahl Sr. was saying, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, most beneficent, most merciful, with a full-grown beard and a trimmed mustache, typical of what Muslim males do. And then he's going there negotiating with terrorists, telling the spokesperson of Taliban that I'm still working to free all Gitmo prisoners. God will repay for the death of every Afghan child. Amen. Who's he fighting for? His son or the prison in Guantanamo? Then he has a very dark mind. He subscribes to the top terrorist YouTube videos, Anwar al-Awlaki. Not only he's just looking at these videos, but he's putting comments on these YouTube videos in classical Arabic language, which means, he's learned that language quite well. And then he comments that he's Muslim. And all this is proven fact. And, he also put one of his favorites with another Ismail Menk. Ismail Menk was one of the favorites of Tsukar Tsarnaev, the Boston Marathon bombers, the pressure cooker bombers. I mean, this is the same kind of thing that you see, that happened with Anwar Awlaki, Nidal Malik Hassan.
Wow.
He also subscribing to Anwar Awlaki was Nidal Malik Hassan, the guy behind the Fort Hood massacre. So this man is really a pro-terrorism, working with his son, in cahoots with his son. The testimonies against his son came forth, from several of his comrades saying that this guy's a defector, this guy is a pro-Taliban, this guy went looking for the Taliban, left his weapons behind. So here we're exchanging full bird terrorists with a traitor. And that's under the auspices of the Obama administration, who got no permission from anybody to do it.
Yeah, it's stunning that we haven't brought this into justice. It's just mind-boggling. Our checks and balances is totally broken. Let me ask you this before we run out of time. Do you think Hillary will be tagged with this?
Well, I mean, her legacy is basically dying out. You can see Americans are kind of waking up to the Hillary Clinton, and she's involved. If she was in the OIC, she was very much involved in this whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, she's got her sidekick, Huma Abedin, who we know her father was a major constructor of the document in the Saudi Wahhabi government and how to use the Muslim minority affairs to take over the world, including the U.S., and how to use Muslim minorities in building mosques and all these things. We're talking about a group that infiltrated under Hillary Clinton into the halls of the government, in the federal government, in the CIA, in the FBI, in the military. This is the works of Hillary Clinton as well, cooperating with President Obama. So the liberals think that by working with non-conservative entities, it's really a revolutionary mindset. It's the liberals have a revolutionary mindset to use any enemies of Judeo-Christian ethics. And the same thing with the Islamists. They use the mindset of anyone who supports their ethics to a certain degree. And so revolutionary concepts tend to go that route and to create havoc in a society like ours.
Well, and I'm out of time. You're fascinating. Where can people get more information on this and correspond with you?
Shoebat.com, just as you spell the word shoe, S-H-O-E, and the word bat, SHOEBAT.com.
Thank you, my friend. Look forward to having you back. Stay safe, and our prayers go with you.
God bless.
God bless. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at theDove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on theDove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Welcome back. Do you read the Christian Journal? You should.
Absolutely.
Just one of the things you should do. I'm delighted to have Chad back with us today. He's the executive director of Rogue Retreat, which we'll talk about. He's also the editor of Christian Journal. He's a pastor of Set Free Christian Fellowship, and I asked him if he fixed mufflers on Saturdays.
Do not do that. You know, if I fix your muffler, your car's going to go down.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, that's
well,
for sure.
You're probably a guy as busy as I am. Good to see you.
Thank you, Perry.
And happy birthday to you.
Thank you, and it's such an honor just to be with you, Perry. You know, we're in the same business.
Yeah, we just help each other.
We do, and we're there to encourage and inspire and just help Christians get excited about what they do.
Amen. Well, what's the Rogue Retreat? Tell us about it.
Well, thank you. Rogue Retreat is, you know how you get a bunch of Christians together, they start dreaming?
Yeah.
You can have some interesting things happen. Well, back in 1998, some of us sat around a table and we said, you know, we'd like to help people who are struggling in life. And we particularly were thinking about people with addictions, which I'll get to in a minute, are the homeless. And we said, we'd like to do some kind of a Christian organization to help them get their back on their feet, get their life back together. And out of that came Rogue Retreat. Rogue Retreat is kind of a catch on words. We're in the Rogue Valley, but we're serving rogue people. So, you know, what the Rogue River is, it's a wild river that needs to be tamed, you know. We have rogue people, and we wanted to give them a retreat from life. You know, a 5-star retreat where they could feel good about themselves, not focus on all their mistakes and their problems, but focus on their future and their potential. And especially in Jesus Christ, there's incredible future and potential. Right. So we take them out of life and we house them. We have 42 apartments at this point. Wow. And we put families, and most, when you say homeless, we're not talking about the guy under the bridge with the paper bag. That is homeless, but that's an extreme case. We're talking about people who have made some bad choices, and you know, you get the snowball thing going, and then how do you ever get back? You know, you can't. How do you rent an apartment if you have no job or no income or no credit history, or you're a criminal, or you have felonies, you know? And so all of a sudden you're homeless, and nobody wants to hire you, and nobody wants to give you a chance. And so we get a lot of young families, you know, single parents, people.
You have 42 apartments?
We have 42 apartments, yeah.
That's wonderful.
And it's by the grace of God. We had a couple of grants from the state of Oregon, and we're partnered with the Housing Authority of Jackson County, and we just get a chance to take these people and give them a permanent housing, and then they have case management. They meet with every week, and they make a plan. What do I do now? What are the barriers? What are the things that are keeping me from getting on with life? And sometimes it's education, sometimes it's criminal things I got to take care of. Definitely addiction recovery is part of that.
Do you need help?
Always need help, Perry. Right. Does nonprofits need help?
Yeah, but where do you need help? How can people get involved?
Well, you know, right now we are finding that we need some good Christian businesses to step up and say, we'll sponsor a family for a year. We'll help them get into this apartment. We'll help them have the case management. And then we'll see great rewards. And we see incredible rewards come out of this. Wow. We're taking people that can't do anything for themselves, and a year or two later, they're able to be independent, to take care of themselves. They have jobs. They're giving back to society. They're no longer just taking. It's amazing. And now you're giving their whole rest of their life. It's amazing.
How do they get a hold of you?
Well, our office is area code 541-499-0880 is our main office number.
Okay.
And that would be one way to get hold of us. Rogue Retreat, we have 6 facilities with all these apartments. Very small office. Most of our work is done individually with people in their homes, and it's exciting. You know, I can tell you story after story. I'm just thinking about one driving over here right now. She came to us out of the domestic violence center in Roseburg, Oregon, and got connected with us. We took her in. She had 2 kids. One's a young teenager. The other one's about 3 years old, and she was destitute. She had nothing coming out of this situation. Got into one of our apartments. Did everything she was asked to do. She got a job, then she got a better job. Now she's a manager in a hotel, and she's now exited out of our program. She's got her own apartment, and she's doing great.
That's wonderful.
And she and her 2 girls are just awesome people. But when she came, she'd come to our Monday night. We have life skills training every Monday night where we bring them all together. That's exciting. All 42 apartments together. And she was always the first one there, sitting in her seat, ready to listen to whatever she could, grasp. And
that's wonderful.
She got her life back.
All right, so you got a fundraiser coming up.
We
Tell
do.
us about
We
it.
have an annual picnic, and we take all of our people out to, I can never say the name of the park. It's on Stewart and Holly. Fichtner Manwaring Park. What is the name of that?
Yes. It's
Can you say
corner-
that?
It's on the corner of, it's out there on Stewart.
Stewart and Holly, right?
Yeah.
But we go out there and we take all of our people and we take our board members and our supporters and we have a big picnic. And we've got another ministry helping us this year. And we're doing a little raffle. We've got the fundraiser we're doing this year, just a raffle. We got the Ashland Springs Hotel and Shakespeare to give us some tickets and a night at the Ashland Springs Hotel, and we're going to raffle that off, and hopefully somebody will win that and get blessed, and the monies will come in to us. So
where do
we
they
have
get
some
these?
tickets. Well, they can get them right through that same number.
Okay.
499 and 0880.
They're $5?
$5 for one, or $10 for three, or it goes on and on. But
Okay.
so it's kind of fun to do something like that to give back. What we desperately need, Perry, is it costs money to do case management with folks.
Yeah.
You know,
So what's it take to sponsor a family for a year?
we're looking at about $6,000 a year, and people say, "Oh, that's a lot of money." But you know, they did some research not too long ago. They do it all the time. In fact, they did a guy in Boston on the streets, homeless. They said, "Let's track him for a year and see what it costs society." And after a year, you know, with emergency room visits and the police called out and all these things, going to shelters and eating and doing this, what do you think it costs to take care of one guy in a community for a year?
Right.
$500,000.
My stars.
It's just unreal. We don't realize what the homeless cost our society.
Yeah.
It's cheaper to house them and help take care of them and get them back on their feet than to let them just run around in the community.
Wow. So maybe a couple of businesses could partner up,
Oh,
or,
yeah.
or whatever, or families, or whatever the Lord's laying on your heart. This is wonderful. I had no idea it was 42. I knew you had done this, but I didn't know you had grown the 42 units. And you feed them too?
We don't feed them. Most of them can get food stamps so they can feed themselves. The apartments are just, I mean, it's got a kitchen, bathroom, bedrooms, just like, we're not talking about a dormitory setting. They have an apartment.
Right, that's wonderful.
And own a dress, and they can lock their own door. And I mean, it's just...
But they come to your program once a week? And,
Right. We sit down with all of them once a week, and we bring people like you in and talk to them about different aspects of how to get their lives back together. A lot of thinking that they can succeed instead of being a failure, you know, and those kind of things.
Well, folks, I tell you, Chad and his group, there's just no grass growing under their feet. They're doing something all. Set Free Christian Fellowship, you've been doing that how long?
17 years on the 5th of July.
And the Christian Journal, how long?
14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I applaud you, my brother.
Like you, we just don't get tired. do we?
Well, you know, I don't find the word retirement or quit in the Bible. It says occupy till I come. So
Well, you know, we're in good shape, Perry, because Moses got started at 80, so we're okay.
we got a ways to go.
We got a ways to go.
499-0880. 499, area code 541-499-0880 to get some raffle tickets. Sure. And maybe the Lord's leading you to get involved in the Rogue Retreat program. Give them a call. Thanks, my friend.
Thank you, Perry.
Okay.
You're
All
a
right.
good man.
Give them a call, okay?
Thank you.
499-0880. We'll see you next time.
Hi, I'm Jim and I work at theDove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us.